vegetables. I think that they're one of my favorite things about the fall season. Love working with them. Some of these root vegetables will last forever. We'll be using these well into the winter season. And they're available pretty much so all year round. One of my favorite ways to treat them is to oven roast them. I'll put them on a sheet tray, dice them up or slice them up, put them on a sheet tray, bake them off in the oven, spraying them with a little bit of the olive oil spray. When you roast them, the sugars on the inside, and yes, I'm using the word sugar, reduces down and becomes much more concentrated. So they have a much more powerful, potent flavor. The flavor really blossoms when you roast root vegetables. The good thing about that is, well, good and bad thing, I guess. We'll start off with the good news first, is you can use a lot less of it to get an awesome amount of flavor into your food. Having said that, root vegetables are still very high in sugars. One of the things I try to avoid is things like carrots, beets. I use turnips, parsnips, and a little bit of roasted fennel in this one, also a little bit of roasted shallot in here, again, oven roasted. And I'm gonna incorporate this into a strata for breakfast because I love those earthy flavors first thing in the morning. But I'm going to use a very small amount. Watch the root vegetables. They're usually very high on the glycemic index. If you have type 2 diabetes, you're trying to prescribe to a low sugar diet to jumpstart your metabolism and get things back on track so you can start losing weight. Root vegetables are something to watch and use in moderation. This recipe is very, very easy. We're going to use a little bit of almond milk. Love the almond milk. Tremendous flavor. And so much better for you. Traditional milk has the lactose that's in it, has a lot of sugar in it. Again, we're talking a lot about sugar in this particular one. Let's press right onto the Greek yogurt and talk about the amount of sugar in this. Traditional yogurt, especially the stuff with the fruit, has a ton of sugar in it. Greek yogurt has much less sugar in it. I'm going to incorporate this in. I don't do this very often, but I like to add sometimes a little bit of Greek yogurt into the egg mixture. It just adds a neat consistency and a nice flavor to it. A really, really nice flavor, in my opinion. Gives it a little bit of a tartness, which is nice, again, with these root vegetables. So choose your battles when it comes to this stuff, adding it in where you think is appropriate. If you have something that's a little bit sweeter but has an earthy flavor, that tartness is going to go very well with it. We're just going to spray up a casserole dish. You could certainly do this in a Pyrex dish or a baking dish so that you have a lot of portions. If you do it in a round, cut them into triangles. You do it in a square, cut them into squares or into diamond shapes. Make a bunch of them at once and save them. I have some stale bread here. Don't ever throw away stale whole grain bread, especially if you have the sprouted grain bread. Very, very expensive. Don't get rid of it. Look how much I'm using, by the way. I want to show you that. I had a lot of root vegetables there. I just sprinkled a little bit of the fennel, the roasted leek, the parsnip, and the turnip in there. Not using a lot of it. I'm going to pour the egg mixture right on top. See how that Greek yogurt almost looks like cottage cheese? It clumps up in there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm not going to add any parsley or any spinach to this. Not looking for that color. I want to stay with the earthy tones on this, just so that it has a different look and feel. Mixing things up, always having something different each day makes part of the healthy lifestyle a lot of fun. Trying new things, using them in different ways, and incorporating them into dishes. If everything looks exactly the same, even though it may look really pretty, it can get very boring. So I like to change up even subtle things like the color and the texture and the consistency. Those little subtle changes will go a long way to keeping you interested in the new changes you're incorporating into your diet. This is going to take maybe about 25 minutes in the oven, somewhere in the neighborhood of 350-degree oven, and we're going to be able to chow on this one. I think the thing I like the most about these bakes or stratas, crustless quiches are just, they're so easy to make. Doing a blind bake on a quiche crust it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot of work, and making a really good flaky pie crust with all 100% whole grain flour can be a real challenge. I mean, if you look at this here, it's so beautiful. The breadcrumbs are toasted. I don't know if I can lift that up enough where you can see it. They're actually toasted on the bottom, so you end up with that nice crust on the bottom. A nice roasted root veg on the inside is a great use of this particular item. Love things like this. Easy to make, require not a lot of time, not a lot of skill. You can get a whole bunch of breakfast done at once. This has to be one of my favorite go-tos for breakfast, just based on simplicity alone.